Pan-Africans from all around the world. Once again, I welcome you to the Africa Renaissance Show. And the video that I'm going to share with you right now is a video by Uganda's President, Yoweri Museveni. And it demonstrates and proves that more than 60 years after independence, most African countries are not yet independent. Have a look.
Now, on one occasion, I didn't go that time. These excellencies, this one here, Jacob Zuma, and the others, I was not there, but my minister was among them. They entered a plane in Nouakchott, in his place. They were going to Libya to mediate. And they were told by Nato to go back. Yes. Said, you go back. Yes, he's here. If I'm telling lies, I'm not the one who invited him, you're the one who invited him. African presidents on an African mission over African soil were ordered by NATO to go back. That NATO has not allowed them to land in Libya. Now, we call this in Swahili, dharau, contempt. This is contempt. So now you can weigh yourselves now. Your presidents were ordered by NATO. 6 of them, not one. If it was only 7, maybe you could say. Six excellencies, African excellencies, were ordered, go back. Over Africa. Now, these fellows didn't listen to us. They continued. They killed Gaddafi. Now Libya is in tatters. Up to today. And the problem did not only end in Libya. It went into Mali. It has gone now into Chad. The whole area is...
Yes, in this video, Yoweri Museveni is describing an instance that took place in 2011 when NATO countries were bombing Libya so that they could oust the then President Muammar Gaddafi, to stop being the president of that country. And so 6 African presidents, decided to make this attempt so that they could travel all the way to Libya and negotiate about an end to the conflict and, of course, save lives and prevent, NATO from bombing Libyan infrastructure. So on the day when the trip was supposed, to happen, NATO contacted the various African presidents who had intentions of traveling to Libya and told them, not to travel to the country. And this is very unfortunate considering that these were attempts which were taking place in the African continent. And moreover, they were meant, to seek a conclusive end to the conflict and preserve the infrastructure of the country and also, save lives. And as you remember, at the time, Libya was one of the wealthiest countries in Africa at the time. So NATO communicated to these African presidents and stopped them from going to Libya to resolve this crisis. And this is another incident which proves that 60 years after independence, African countries are not really independent. This is because for all this time after independence, instead of using our resources, to develop the military and have a strong military that is capable of protecting African countries, this has not yet happened, for all that time. And this is why it's very simple for countries such as the USA to disrespect 6 African presidents, and the 6 African presidents have no option but to comply, with what they are told by the NATO countries, because they understand that they are not in a position to respond to a military intervention or a military attack against their own countries. So I think this is a wake-up call to many African countries that the military is a crucial aspect, and it's very necessary for the protection of African people and the African continent, and that it is very important for these countries to invest in military so that we can protect our country from outside intervention. And we need to borrow, the example from other countries, and one of such an example is a country like China. In the past, the USA used, I think there are various instances when the USA invaded China. But if you look at China today, China is a different country. Their military is so much advanced. They used their independence for the last more than 60 years to invest in their military, and now they have one of the strongest militaries in the world, a military that can even oppose these Western countries. A country like Iran is also an example. And if you remember, in 2020, there was an incident where a senior ranking military officer from Iran, Soleiman, he was assassinated by a USA drone. And days after that incident, Iran responded by bombing, US bases with ballistic missiles. And this is one of the reasons why you see that in the Middle East, they are coalescing behind Iran, because Iran proved to the world that it's not a pushover, that it's one of the strongest countries in the world in terms of military. And this is why it had the guts to respond to the attack, by the USA by bombing these bases. But right now, if you reflect about, the African countries, all the 54 countries, I don't think there is a country that is in a position to respond to such an attack, by NATO or the USA. And this is a wake-up call, and we need to start doing things differently so that maybe 50 years from today, we can be in a position to stand up to any bully, whichever country it is, and make sure that the lives, and integrity of African countries is protected and safeguarded. And if you want to see more of this type of content, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Goodbye.